All right, welcome and hello. Today we have Nora Wendel on, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I love all the color in the background. So vibrant and magnetic, of course. And today we are going to talk all about feminine magnetism, how to be confident, sexy, and free, and owning your worth, ways to kick self-doubt, and in total how to just not give a fuck about what other people think. So I'm really, really excited and honored to have Nora on today. She's in from Bali. And Nora, if you could, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself and just kind of, let people know how you've gotten to where you are and what you do and what you're up to.
Yay! Hey everyone, and thanks Nicole. So exciting. I always love sharing and meeting new people all around the world. So if you're listening, hey! Yeah, I live in Bali. I've been here 4 years almost. And I'm like, wow, that quick. Wow, really? I'm a coach. I teach feminine magnetism, and I just love that term because it's like, oh, it piques your interest. It's like, oh, what is that? I want some of that. And that's exactly what I teach. I teach you how to own your worth. How do you truly start believing in yourself? How do you get your self-confidence up and your self-worth up so that you can walk into any situation in your life and be like, I got this. Actually, I more than got this. I totally rock. Because when you believe that and when you think that, you can do anything. And that's that kind of internal motivation that everybody wants in this life. And so when you look at a magnetic woman and it's like she's there and she walks into the cafe and you're just like heads turn and you're like, whoa, what does she have? I want some of that. I want to stand next to her. She's like vibrating these energetic things on the airwaves, and you're just like, ooh, I feel good around her. And I made this comparison yesterday when I was on another podcast, and I'm like, yeah, it's like owning that you are the hot shit. But it's not coming from a place of your ego. If it's coming from your place of ego, you're actually putting people down around you, and then nobody wants to hang out with you. But if you're like, I'm the hot shit, and it comes from a place of compassion and empowerment, you uplift and inspire everyone around you, and everybody wants to hang out with you because they feel really good around you. And that's what it's about. I really navigated my life according to how can I feel better and better? How do I feel great about myself? Because when you feel great, everything in your life becomes great. And so yes, I'm a hedonist. Like I'm like full on into the pleasure. How can I have more pleasure? Because pleasure makes me feel great. It doesn't only have to mean sexual pleasure, right? Yeah. Pleasure is like drinking my cup of tea in the morning as I stand on the grass and look at the bananas growing in my garden, and I look at the sky and I'm just like, yes, yes, this feels good. I feel great. So that in a nutshell is what I teach women, particularly because I feel like women have gotten these false stories and ideas and beliefs that we are too much or that we're not enough, and we swing wildly between these two ends, when in reality, like, just navigate according to what feels good. Unravel everything that you've been taught or you believe is true to come to your core, which is a natural state of joy, which is a natural state of empowerment. That is who we are. And my journey started because at 24, I had a panic attack on the London Underground when I was studying in university there. And from that moment on, I was just like, oh, I don't feel safe. I can't trust myself. My body made me feel things where I was scared and fearful and in fear of my life. And then it was a whole 10-year journey where I had chronic anxiety, where I went in codependent relationships because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust that I was going to be okay. So I was like clinging on to anyone who would kind of be around me. So scared, so scared. And I wasn't living in joy. I wasn't living my purpose. I was just like, what am I doing? And I would probably say like depression here and there also. Depression is not my natural state, but it's this lackluster, like not knowing, like, why can't I go out to the coffee shop, and like self-hating on myself because I was not normal. And that whole 10-year kind of journey, I did personal development. I never took medical drugs, but I did like Gurdjieff dance therapy. I did psychotherapy counseling. I did normal counseling. I did NLP. I did leadership training. I trained in authentic relating. Like I did a feminine embodiment. Like I did so much more and more to just connect back and to just, in the end, trust myself and to come back to the knowledge that it's okay to feel great and you can navigate life to just feeling great. So that is my story.
I love it. I'm just like nodding on my head over here like, yes, preach, sister. I love it because it's so, when even in that process and that journey and in discovering where there's so much learned self-hatred that we're taught really as women around, oh, I feel like crap. And so then it just perpetuates itself. Whereas when you flip the switch and you learn these different tools and really start to learn more about your internal environment, where you can start to take the reins back and focus on the pleasure. And that really is our femininity, is being in the receiving and the flow and the pleasure. So I love everything you just said. And would love to know too, through this journey for you, how was it for you to start owning your worth? What did that look like for you, and what things did really clicked for you that helped that sink in?
Yeah, so on like owning my worth, it's worth is just the belief in yourself that you can have all of your desires. So that's like how I define worth. It's just like I can have it all, like and I'm worthy of it. I deserve it. Like it's mine. I don't have to question it. And we are taught, like in school, we're taught like, you know, worth equals achievement, right? That you got to like have the good grades to get the good stars. So it's like all based on action. So we're always trying based on action to feel worthy.
Yeah.
And so when you can dismantle that idea in your mind and be like, I don't have to do anything to be worthy, and really just tuning into something that I did a lot when I was like really working on connecting to my sensuality, because I had completely blocked that off in my life, was the feeling of aliveness. So, and that comes from like tantric principles of how alive can you feel, how much can you tune into your senses to really feel this moment and the presence of yourself in this moment. And I did a lot of practices in the morning of just like being like, okay, closing my eyes and just tuning into like, how does the air feel on my skin? When I really tune into that, you know, is it completely still, or is it like silky, or do I feel the breeze? And that really allowed me to come back to presence, come back to myself, and come back to the idea of like right here and right now, like I don't need to do anything else. So that's something I really practiced, was the art of being alive now, but through sensuality. So really taking pleasure through what I was seeing or what I was tasting or what I was feeling on my body and my skin, or touching. That really, really, really helped me when I slowed things down. And that also helps with anxiety, because in anxiety, you're really in your head and you're kind of like racing ahead, and it's all worries. Like anxiety is worries about the future.
Yep.
And so when you can bring it back into the present moment and just be like, whew, okay, like here and now, what am I feeling? Oh, okay, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm breathing. Oh, okay, all right. And I might be feeling nervous. What's underneath that? And constantly like looking at like, what are some emotional needs that you're not getting met? And so I was talking about worth in like school, right? And it just continues, like worth is achievement and action in our jobs also. Like you got to work hard, right? Work hard, get the raise, get the promotion, then you can have more money to buy the car, to have the house. Like it's all just based on action. And you know what? You're never going to feel worthy. You're never going to feel worthy if you continuously chase it in that way. And I think self-worth, lack of self-worth, is definitely a modern day dis-ease for women.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do we peel back the layers and just see that you can have anything? And as children, we're taught that we can't have anything. I want that. Oh no, you can't have that, right? It's so inbuilt into who we are. And so when you think of it, recently I've listened to a lot of Amanda Francis, who's like spiritual boss lady. She's like a money mentor, and I really enjoy listening to her because she's got great views on money. And you know, she's also trained a lot in, like, she did like Bible study school or something, right? So she talks a lot about faith. And now I'm not religious, and I was not brought up in a religious environment. I was brought up in a spiritual environment. I grew up actually in Nepal and in India. My dad is a Sanskrit scholar, meditation teacher. Like, I grew up with these kind of philosophies around me. And so it's like faith. And it's like, she always talks about, you know, like, God doesn't tell you this or that, like, you are everything. And then it's like, you are instilled that you are not enough, also through religion, right? Because we have more to achieve to get there. So I really think if you're really suffering from lack of self-worth, start examining who told you what when. Is it really true? And that's always the first layer of transformation, is awareness. Actually, I'll backtrack, and I always say the first step in transformation is the realization that you don't want to be where you are right now, right? So whether you're hitting rock bottom or you're frustrated as fuck, or just like things are really not working out for you, that's the first step, because that's going to lead to the second step being like, okay, like, this isn't working, so what do I want instead? And that's when the awareness can start, and that's when the self-questioning can start.
Yeah, I love that so much. And that is where, you know, with the coaching that I do as well, it's emotional and sensual liberation. It is getting women into their bodies. And I love that you spoke to that around just like, how can I make, like, feeling the air on my skin, drinking my tea, and just the moment by moment parts of your day to get back in your body into the sensuality, because that is our femininity, that is our magnetism, and that's us receiving and being, it's moving us from our head down into our body. And when we're in that masculine patriarchy, like, worry, anxiety, mind up, we'll never feel worthy, because we're always chasing the next thing, like you were saying. And I love how you put that so eloquently, of just getting into the body and knowing that your worth has nothing to, like, you don't have to do anything to be worthy. You're alive. So I love that so much. And it's so true.
It is. So we just start questioning, who told you weren't worthy? Was it like, you know, a teacher in school, because, you know, they had to follow the system, and that's just how the schooling works, you know? And just be really, like let it go. Just be like, oh, okay, I know. I was told that, you know, I got the F on the paper, which means that I'm not worthy of anything in this life, you know? No, that's not true.
Yes, all the drama around that.
Yeah.
Yes. And so with this, I believe, you know, and to what you speak to as well, that, you know, I really believe that self-doubt is what comes in around the unworthiness. Like you said, it's like we make up these stories from a past situation or something someone said to us. And so what are some of your top ways for kicking self-doubt? Like, what are your go-to if you ever like have, you know, the thoughts or the things come in where you know, getting to decide differently, but what are some of the ways that you've experienced have been very helpful for you to eradicate self-doubt when it comes in, or to work with it, to keep taking this next step, so to speak?
I love talking about self-doubt because, like, I call it, you know, your inner bully, right? It's your inner bully, but it's actually your inner bully who really, really loves you. And so I study like a lot of neuroscience and NLP, and the function of the brain, it's like there's two main functions. And the first one is to keep you alive, to keep you safe, to keep you surviving. And self-sabotage, you know, self-doubt, your inner bully is actually your brain just trying to keep you safe. And let's say you want to apply for a job promotion and you're like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. I'll never get chosen. Why me? Like, no, right? So that's like, I call it also the negative Nancy of your mind.
Yeah.
That's your inner bully, like putting you down. In reality, your brain's just trying to keep you safe because you might have had an experience in the past And the brain only works on past experiences. Like, it doesn't recreate the future unless you sit down and do it consciously, right? It's subconsciously, it's just working on what happened in the past. What experience did you have when you tried to do something new and it was hurtful or painful? And it's usually in our childhood, because that's when we start forming our identity. And then the brain's like, okay, now you want to apply for a job. Cool. What do I have in the past that, was similar in this situation? Oh, I got really hurt. That didn't really work out for me. Like, I spoke out, I spoke out in school, and then I got laughed at. That was so humiliating and shameful. So that was not a nice experience. Oh, I think this experience is going to be like that experience. I might apply for that job and I might get rejected and I'm going to be shameful and humiliated. I don't want to feel that. And so, like, the brain's pressing your panic buttons, and then your inner bully starts saying, no, you can't do that. That's not okay. You're not worth it. You'll never get chosen. So it's actually just your brain trying to keep you safe from avoiding the pain and that you had experienced in the past. When I frame it that way, I'm like, oh, you just want to keep me safe. You actually just really, really love me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for wanting to take care of me. But I totally got this also. Yeah. So I literally talk to myself like that, because I realize that it's for my benefit, even though it might not seem like it. When I frame it in that way, I'm like, oh, I love you too. Let me give you a hug, pat you on the back. It's okay. I'm still going to apply for the job. Yeah. And so it's seeing the story you tell yourself and then deciding to tell yourself a new story. Be like, I'm going to apply for the job. It's okay. A really good thing to ask yourself is the fear that you have. Like, what's the emotional need underneath the fear? So if you're scared that you're not going to get the job application, does that mean you're really afraid of rejection, of abandonment? So what happened in your childhood where you got rejected and abandoned? Is there an emotional need in you as an adult right now that's still not being met? So those are kind of like the main things that I work on with self-doubt and your inner bully.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so powerful too, around the self-compassion, because a lot of people just really believe their thoughts. So when that self-doubt comes in, they aren't usually, a lot of people, aware that it's like an actual thing that they can change the channel on. And I love the self-compassion piece around being like, oh, you're just like a caring parent that's really like, or a critical parent, or wherever you internalize that from. But that's, I think, having that interaction of the awareness and then self-compassion, and then even deeper, I love that you're talking about that unmet fear or the unmet emotion that needs to be addressed, because I'm a huge fan of inner child work and reparenting, because that's been really healing for me in my journey. And so when I feel like it is always that, for me, it always comes back to that, around like, okay, what is the little, Nicole or the mini me need in this moment? And what is she freaking out about? Like, why is she trying to self-sabotage? Like, what is she afraid of, kind of a thing. So I love that you address those things, because it's so important. And when people can come to themselves in that space, it's so much easier to expand faster, to heal, miracles happening, healing fast. It's almost like it quickens the process when you are able to just allow what is to be what is, and really just embrace yourself in a way that's not like, no, not mine, go away, like, I don't want to feel that. Whereas you're like, okay, this is here. And it's almost like the sensuality piece, where you're kind of like just allowing it in that femininity of being like, okay, like, I hear you, and that's really sweet that you want to keep me safe, and and I've got this, and and getting to meet your own needs, whether that's in self-parenting or self-care, self-compassion. So.
Yeah, when I had anxiety for so long, like I didn't know any of this. I didn't know anything about inner child, integrate. I don't call it healing, because I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It's integrating the unmet emotional needs. And 100% agree with you. It's like, it always to childhood and what did you internalize that wasn't actually what happened? Because you had an unmet emotional need. You were a baby sitting, crawling around. Your mom picks you up, puts you in the chair. You start crying. She's making you dinner, and you're like, I'm not loved because she's not giving me attention, right? And you can't even talk, right? And it's just like having that self-compassion, and you then internalize that story. That for me, a big one was with my dad. Was like, I need to prove my love to my dad. And so then my whole kind of life when you know, being in codependent relationships with men, it was the same thing. I always had to prove that I was the best one for them, that, you know, I could make them the best meal, and look at me, like it was always. And so it came from neediness, not from wholeness, right? It came from needing to prove. And that's the same thing when you're not feeling worthy. You might be feeling like you need to prove yourself all the time. And that's endlessly tiring. You're exhausting yourself.
It's exhausting.
From the inside out, right?
Yeah.
You're exhausting yourself. Nobody wants a needy woman. A man does not want a needy woman. Another woman does not want a needy woman. No, why would you? That's an energy suck, right? That is an energy suck. So 100% agree with you. Inner child integration is the way forward to look at not only your self-doubt, but your self-sabotage also, because it's always around some unmet emotional need that you're not aware of, that when you can become aware of as an adult, you can meet it as an adult. And then you can move forward with ease and grace and flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking into the codependency and like that neediness, I feel like that piece almost creates the cycle of like when women care so much about what other people think, it's from that like, I need somebody to like love me. And it's like this graspy kind of feeling. And I know that one of your main pillars is also around not giving a fuck about what other people think. So did you feel like when you started addressing like the neediness and fulfilling that in yourself, that's kind of when the like not giving a fuck started kind of like hand in hand going together? What was your experience around that?
So like my whole not giving a fuck, like it still came back to like one of my and I just mentioned it, like the core wound that I had from my childhood was you know, that I'm not worthy of the love of my dad unless I proved myself. So I really cared about the validation from my dad. Like my mom's totally fine, but my dad, oh no, like I had to be the good girl. Like I had to get the okay from my dad. And it's still there, but I'm just aware of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, Nora, I get it, you know? And like it gets triggered and my nervous system goes into flight or fight if I feel like I'm going against my dad. Like it is still there. It is so deeply rooted, but I've got the awareness on top of that. And I can be like, okay, so you really do care. Like you really do want the love of your dad. Can you just go and talk to him and be like, Dad, I'm going to go and do this. And I actually really want your approval, but I recognize it's coming from this place. I'm going to do it anyway. So it's addressing it as an adult, yeah? And with the anxiety, when I had that, like, I felt so small and I felt so insignificant. And I know all of us want to matter. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard, and we all want to be appreciated, which is why I went and I trained in authentic relating, because it is training people with the ability and the skills to be able to see, hear, and appreciate other people. And there's a moment when that happens and it drops and you're like, wow, I matter? I actually matter. And, you know, if you think about suicide, it's because people don't actually feel like they are significant or that they matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And when you can feel that realization, it drops for you. It's just like, wow, like I have purpose. I have meaning. When I had my anxiety for so long, I didn't have meaning to my life. I was like, what am I doing? What is my purpose? And that just perpetuated my anxiety even more. So I was there. I know what it feels like. I don't wish that upon anyone, anyone at all. So foundationally, we all just want to be loved. That is the foundation of our existence, is we are seeking love. We are seeking to give love. We are seeking to receive love. And people pleasing, you know, all of these other things that come up is just us, validation. All of this is us seeking that love. So when you look at yourself and your life, ask yourself, how is my seeking love showing up? Is it showing up as neediness, as codependency, as constantly needing approval, as constantly needing validation? How can I build that love relationship with myself, and then build the relationships with others, whether it's parents or your siblings or your children, your boss or your lover, to create a flourishing relationship where needs are actually met. And so a lot of the things I do talk about is self-worth, self-confidence, feminine embodiment, and the last pillar is relationships, because we aren't taught how to have relationships. We aren't taught how do we express our desires and our needs in a way that makes them okay to be met or not okay to be met, but we can handle that outcome. And so I love teaching about relationships, because we live in a relational society. It is the foundation of society, and yet no one teaches us how to show up in a relationship. And we have all these different types of relationships. And that's why I'm such a big fan of authentic relating, because it teaches relationships. It teaches how do you show up in a relationship with the other. And I'm not going to say that I don't give a fuck anymore, but I'm just so aware when I do give a fuck, and I'm like, okay, Nora, let's examine this. All right. So actually, from this person, you really want the validation. Why is that? What's underneath that? Okay, is it something with your childhood? Is it something that you can give yourself? Like, you know, it's like I like to see my life as like my own science experiment, because I'm really looking at it. I'm really looking at what are my desires? What are my neediness? You know, how am I stopping myself? How am I not stopping myself? What do I, how can I be even more great, even more magnetic, even more of a rock star?
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have to say. Did that answer your question? I don't know. I went on a little bit of a tangent there, though.
I loved all of it. Yeah, and I really love you tying it in with the relationship piece, because everything is relationship. Relationship to ourselves, relationship to source, relationship to other people. And we're not taught healthy relationship skills. We're not, you know, I think the most important piece too is like the repair part. And that's something that I've had to learn over the years, is like, when someone does something that hurts your feelings, or if someone's doing something that you don't like, is like, how do you communicate that in a way where your needs are going to get met? Or if they're not met, like, how do you then, you know, take note and or address that maybe it's a relationship that you aren't going to stay in like as close with? Or, you know, there's like all these like dancing that happens in relationship, and our communication is the core of that. And when we're not taught how to do the internal work, the reparenting, and also get to see the people that either it's close relationships or not, seeing that, you know, their stuff is either their projections, their past pains, their child, you know, their inner child reacting. So there's an element too of like not taking other people personally, where it's like, okay, like this is their inner child having a meltdown. This is actually not their adult self right now, even though, you know, they're a functioning adult. But it's such important work to be able to create those spaces for people. And especially Bali is such a beautiful place for that, because it is so transient, and there's just that people go to Bali for healing and for awareness and all of, you know, and it's beautiful and travel and all the things. But that's such a cool space to be able to hold those gatherings, whether it's online or in Bali, but getting to hold that space for people to have those self-awarenesses, and then get to learn how to be in relationship with others in that space. So I love that. That's really important work.
I think what you said around, you know, other people's opinions, like other people's opinions are their own beliefs and stories. Like you said that. And when you can realize that, I had a recent family member, I posted, you know, that I made 12K in the height of the pandemic, and she wrote me a personal message, and she was like, you can't post that. That's not okay. Like, you know, people are suffering out there. And it really deeply triggered me, because I was just like, oh, it's family. It's really close to heart. I've done something wrong. Like all of these things came up. And then I was just like, wow, like that's actually her story. That's actually her belief system, that you don't talk about money, that it's not okay to talk about money, that you know, she believes that it's going to upset people. And so when I took a step back, I really like it. I felt it in my nervous system. Like I was like on like high alert, like because it felt like I had done something wrong. And it was very similar to my childhood experiences when I was not a good girl, and then I did something wrong, even though I was a really good girl as a child. Same feeling got triggered. And then I stepped back and I looked at it and I was like, wow, okay, so how do I want to feel about this? Like, you know, what are my boundaries now? And then I just wrote to her and I said, actually, you know, I'm writing this because I just launched a course and I'm actually empowering women. So it's my On Fire group coaching, which is NLP based, brain hacking. And, you know, I've already got 7 women signed up and it's inspiring to them. So thank you so much for reaching out to me. And I really appreciate your message. And I know it's coming from a place of love, because it was coming from a place of love. And yet it still triggered me. And I was just like, okay, and I'm not going to remove that. That's my boundary. So yeah, I felt really proud of myself for like being really triggered, getting my nervous system going into the I'm a bad girl, and yet then deciding, actually no, like I'm okay. Like this is me. This is me. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your care. And that is so important when you really do care what other people think about you, is just understanding what they're sharing with you is their life experience and their stories and their unmet emotional needs. So take a step back and then ask yourself, what are my values? Is what I just did against my values or going with my values? Can I be strong enough to set a boundary and be like, actually, thank you for sharing. I always say thank you for sharing, because everybody's experiences and feelings are always valid. No matter what they are always valid. So I go, thank you for sharing that. And I'll usually repeat what they shared with me and say, I hear you. I hear that you said that that post wasn't good, that, you know, I'm, you know, making other people feel bad about themselves. Thanks for sharing that. And then I go on to say, you know, this is my boundary, or I'm not available for that, or all of that.
I love this example of your personal experience, because it shows that like when people talk about not giving a fuck, it's like, it's not that you're like walking around like F all of you. It's exactly what you just said. It's this, okay, like thank you, you're valid, your experience and your feelings are totally valid, and I can keep my boundaries and my values, and I can receive and take in what you're saying, but I don't have to take it on as my truth. I don't have to let it make me make something mean about myself, like, oh, I'm bad or wrong or shouldn't have posted this, and all of that kind of stuff that can get triggered, of like the people pleasing or the good girl or you know, all of that. And then getting to reinstate, like, and not even like you have to explain it, but even just saying thank you for your comment and leaving it at that is something too. But really this place of that process that you walked yourself through is the part of not giving a fuck. It's like, no, I get to have my own boundaries, have my own values, and not be like completely shut off to, you know, other people's experiences or anything like that. But having this not giving a fuck from a place of the source and core versus ego. So I really love that you shared that experience.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I'm not here to put anyone down. I don't want that. I don't want anyone to put me down. I still want to have relationships and conversations with people, and that's the juice. Like, I love having conversations with people who don't agree with me, because I'm like, wow, that's so fascinating. What is your viewpoint? Tell me that. Cool. Oh, wow. I can feel that's totally not my viewpoint, but I can still accept you and be friends with you, even though we have completely differing viewpoints. And this is what's needed in this world, is acceptance of different perspectives. Like, none of us are right. We are only right according to what we think is right inside. And then this is what causes separation. This is what we're seeing in the United States right now, is this like me or you kind of attitude. But I'm very much of a, you know, this is all of us, and like we can all hold hands and each believe in a completely different thing, and that's okay. That's what makes diversity. That's what makes us rich in conversation. It's what makes the world so rich in offerings and everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And what would you say, did you have like a pivotal moment when you felt yourself become magnetic? Or is there like, I know for me, past experiences where I like really finally felt at home in my body, and they're like specific moments where I'm just like, I just remember feeling that like coming home kind of feeling. Did you have like a certain moment or like a time in your life when it really landed for you that you remember, or was it kind of just progressively over time that you built up to that?
For me, it was progressively over time. And like, in the last kind of, let's say, year and a half, like it's something I actively practice every day when I do my sitting with myself. And I don't want to be like meditate every day, no. But my self-compassion is I meditate more often than not. So everything that I want in my life, I do it more often than not. So I don't have the inner bully going, oh, you didn't sit and meditate every day. No, I'm like, no, but I did it 5 days. You know, that's pretty cool, Nora. You're rock. You're amazing. So I'm like queen of self-compassion, because when I had anxiety, I had no self-compassion. I had such self-hate. So now I flipped that completely. And I'm like, oh my God, Nora, you're amazing. And the moment for like, when I was just like, I am magnetic. What I'm going to share with you is not the moment when I was magnetic, but it's the first moment when I felt like I'm going to be okay, like life is okay. And it was maybe 5, 6 years ago, maybe longer than that, 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I was doing dance therapy in Goa in India, and I was on like a 4-week course. And it was Gurdjieff dance therapy. And I can't tell you more about it because I actually didn't research it. It was a suggestion from one of my counselors to join her course. And I was like, okay, you know what? I was really deep in my anxiety, and I couldn't even drive on the scooter to my counselor. Like I had to have a taxi driver because I just didn't feel safe. Like my anxiety was really, really high. And so I was like, okay, I'll join. And it's literally like piano, but it's not like classical piano. It's like plink plonk piano, and it's like really awkward movements that you do in this. And there's like 10 stages, or I don't know, like literally it is out there. And it was the final performance, I guess, and it was like 4 of us. That was all that was there, and they were all training to be teachers, and she let me just join in. And I had no idea what was coming next. Like I had no idea. And I was doing this performance. It was just for the teacher, but I had to like, I let go of the not knowing. And when I had my anxiety, I always needed to know that I was going to be okay. And it was just so strict on myself of like control. Because when I had the panic attack, I didn't have control. So now my life was the opposite way, where I had to control everything, which you can't, right? So that's why I had anxiety. So in the performance, I was just like, oh my God, like I don't know the next move. And I just had to like trust that my body knew the next move. And I did it. And then after the performance, I was sitting in the taxi going back home. It was like a half an hour drive. As soon as I sat down, he's my friend, the taxi driver, like family friend for the last 20 years. He had the radio on. I sat down, closed the door, and we started driving. Goa's very like hot, dry air. Windows were rolled down. And Pharrell Williams' song, Happy, came on. And I just like burst into like this biggest smile. It was the first time I ever heard that song too. And I had just done this performance where I had trusted and I had to let go, and I felt really good. And then the song Happy came on, and I just remember going, oh, so that was the first time I truly just felt like I'm going to be okay. I can feel happy. And yeah, I just remember it so clearly. And now every time that I hear that song, I'm reminded of that moment in time where I was just like, oh, it's going to be okay. I'm okay in this moment. And I still had a whole bunch of anxiety to deal with. Like didn't disappear, but it was just like a glimpse of, oh, like just allowing my nervous system to calm down for a moment and actually to be happy and listen to that song without having to worry. But it wasn't like a magnetic moment, but it was literally a moment where I felt something shift in me.
Yeah, I love that so much, because it is that like your nervous system finally was like, like the exhale where it's just like, and I appreciate too that you were like, it wasn't overnight and then my anxiety was gone. It was like but it was that like your soul and your body remembering like this can be normal. Like this feeling isn't just like a wish list. Like I'm actually supposed to feel good all the time. And I believe that when we're in that sensual feminine place, that is the magnetism, and that sense of calm, it to me is where the magnetism comes in. But it sounds like to me too, where the self-compassion piece has been huge around, and I think that is maternal. That is the like natural state of femininity, is the compassion piece. So I really, really love and appreciate that, as far as like, how can I be more compassionate, whether it's with my body, with the way I'm talking to myself, with other people. in the way that I prepare my food, or like the types of food that I'm buying, and it just goes hand in hand with everything. So I think that's so important.
It does. It does. I think, yeah, we're so hard on ourselves, but we always think we have to be better. So it's like, look at yourself. Look at how much like you're talking yourself down for not being better, and how can you shift that into, actually, I'm doing great. I'm so proud of myself. I am a rock star. I am the hot shit. Not with the ego, of course, yeah?
Right.
But just, and that's, I practice that. I practice that daily. I practice how I talk to myself, and then I can catch myself out when I'm like, oh, you can't have that. Oh, why do I think I can't have that? And then start this whole internal journey again, because I'm like, cool, I can totally scale my business. Oh, cool, I can totally make 500,000 this year. Cool, just like talking to yourself, because when I study neuroscience and NLP, it's like you have your external reality and the external environment, I should say. You cannot control it. You can control your close environment, like your house and who you hang out with, but in general, the external influence you cannot control. So after that, we take it in through our senses. Our senses are our filter, and so you're already filtering everything that's out there. And then you form your thought. A thought you keep thinking creates a belief. You have multiple beliefs around you, and that creates your belief system. Your belief system is governing how you show up, your actions, your behavior, and your actions and your behavior create your reality. Yep. That is how it works. Yep. So if you want to change your reality around you, you've got to change your thoughts. You've just got to change what you're thinking, because that's the sequence of events. That is a sequence of events. So I'm a really big practitioner of NLP, because it's really was the final tool. I shouldn't say final, because I'm still learning. It was such a great tool for higher self-awareness and changing my fear or my doubt into, oh, it's okay, I can have it. And it's like rewiring, and it's rewiring without so much effort. And it feels really good. When you do NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's all based upon feelings, and you create new feeling states in your body, and you create anchors, and you put it into your brain, and it works as subconscious programming then. So you don't necessarily have to think of it. It just works, and you start showing up differently. Love it. Fascinated with it.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like when, and Abraham Hicks speaks this too, of like in the feeling state, when you feel better, things get better, and then it keeps getting better and better and better. And when you have a practice like NLP and you are starting to change those conversations and anchoring into your senses and having new behaviors, it's like it can happen that quick, and it gives your body that self-regulation piece too. So that's so important. So important. Awesome. Well, I have absolutely loved this conversation. And Nora, if you could let people know like where they can find you, what you've got going on for courses, and also tell them about your big new reveal for your book that's coming out, all the exciting things.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So first of all, come say hi on Instagram. Instagram is like my place. It's my jam. I love doing stories. You can come peek at my Bali life that I live here. And all my posts on Instagram are all around these topics of self-worth and belief, and how do you start questioning yourself. I share a lot of journaling questions, because for me, journaling is not just, oh, I felt this today. No, it's actually asking myself questions so that I can dig up more of what's ultimately stopping who I want to be as a woman. So Instagram is just at Nora Wendel. You can find it probably in the show notes if you need to. And slide into my DMs. Like, I have conversations with people. I do voice notes. I send videos. Like, that is why I love Instagram. It is so much more high touch for me, reaching people like you. So please, if you're like, oh, I heard you on this, Nicole's podcast, be like, yay! Please do that. Then, yeah, so my big news is I wrote a book, and it's so great, because I actually wrote my book in 5 days. I sat down and I just wrote it. I NLP'd myself to be like, this is easy, this is effortless, and it just flowed and flowed and flowed. And the book is called Confident, Sexy, and Wildly Free: How to Own Your Worth, Ditch the Self-Doubt, and Not Give a Fuck what Other People Think of You. That will be launched in 2 months, and I'll do a big launch party for that. However, I actually created something around the book, and it's called My Inner Circle. because my book is a personal development book where it's like meditations, there's PDFs for you to fill out, there's EFT tapping videos, which is emotional freedom technique. Like I teach you a whole bunch of tools, the tools that I use to become this, you know, magnetic 6-7 figure, you know, entrepreneur living in Bali, like the life. I teach you all of those. So I created the Inner Circle, which is like my exclusive access to the book before it's even published or launched. Every week I release a chapter and you do the processes, and then I do a coaching, a Facebook Live coaching with you, where you get to ask me questions specifically related to where you stuck or what's going on with you. So come and join that. That is still open. I just released chapter 1. It's 8 weeks long, so there's nothing that you're missing out, because you can just go back and read it and watch the Facebook Live and just ask me questions. I'm in the group every single day. So come and join the Inner Circle if you're like, oh my God, I need some Nora in my life right now. That is how you can work right now. And then the next little thing that I'm launching is called Becoming Magnetic, which is my signature program. And it's a 10-week group coaching program. And it's teaching you how to become the most magnetic woman in the room. We look at your beliefs. We look at your unmet inner child needs. How do you get them met in as an adult? We do a lot of feminine embodiment work, a lot of tantric principles also, which is relating to aliveness and pleasure. And then I teach you relationships. I teach you how to go about expressing your needs and getting them met in the way that you need them to. 10 weeks, it's absolutely amazing. Highly recommend it if you're just starting your personal development journey and you're feeling really blocked, and you're just not feeling connected to who you are as a woman and your desires and what you want in life. Great program for you. Yeah, and so that's it. That's me. I also do one-on-one coaching. You can just slide into my DMs if you want to inquire about that. And yeah, watch my IGTV videos. I do like these short videos where I really go into some of these topics and share like light bulb moments which may just transform your life. Because I'm all about sharing little bits which you can listen to, bite size, because I'm like, who has time to watch 15 to 20 minutes of a video? I ain't got time for that. I want something short and sweet and sharp, and oh my God, this is going to change my life. And bringing that out into the world, and then you kind of get addicted to these short, sweet bites. And probably the number one feedback I always get is like, I love your energy, Nora. And I'm like, great, come hang with me. Yes, I need more people and uplift more people. That's totally my jam. So yeah, that's all of me here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited for people to hear this and to check out everything you have going on. I can't wait to read your book, and when I'm in Bali next, to come visit you. Yes. And yeah, thank you so much for being on today. This is fantastic.
Yay.
All right, we'll chat soon.